Says Paul Levering. Okay, please welcome to Massive Chalice Teamstream, occupying Red Couch, programmer Matt Enright.
Woo!
All right, Matt. So you're new to Double Fine. How's it going so far?
Pretty good.
How long have you been here?
About 3 weeks now.
3 weeks, less than a month.
What?
Which is awesome.
It
And
already
so you've
feels
been
like 3
Well,
months at least.
That's 3 work weeks.
Oh.
three
So
work weeks. That's right.
there's the break.
We did sort of have a holiday break in between.
Yeah.
So where do you come to us from?
Well, I was working in Southern California with an indie company.
I feel like you've said that to me before. Do you not want to say what indie company?
Oh, no, it's fine.
You can totally plug it.
Yeah, it's Cadenza Interactive. We did Soul Survivor and Retrovirus. Both of them are on Steam.
Sweet. So you should buy those and support. You get a kickback from that? Maybe? Maybe you should buy
There's
those.
a lot of expenses to pay off. So.
So buy a lot of them, and maybe Matt will get a new house in San Francisco. It'll be awesome. But hey, so you were given graciously to the Massive Chalice team right away, working with David Farrell, one of our graphics gurus, and really jumping into the graphics stuff. So I thought we could talk about some of the things that you've been doing recently. And wait, I'm not going to show this yet. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. If that came through to everybody. Are we still rolling, Paul?
You need to start up.
Okay,
Oh,
I think we're still rolling. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulties. So cool. So right here, this was something that we'd been talking about after playing the game, especially in the keep view. We were like, oh man, we really want to have something that lets you see characters that are obscured by the environment. So we had Derek take a stab at, what could that look like? Like, we don't want it to be too sci-fi or too weird or too UI, and what could we do? And so we did all of these, and we talked about them with Andy. And the ones that we were really liking were D, the one that has this gradient on it. It's kind of like an outline of the character, like a silhouette of the character, without a real sharp outline around the outside. So it's a little bit more subtle. It doesn't feel as much like a UI element. It still feels pretty grounded in the world. We also talked about, and the reason why this one was red is that Derek's main idea was what if we use the house colors? That way you'd be the guy from my red house, it's I see his primary house color, cool. The problem with that we've run into a lot when we talk about sort of anything that feels like UI related to house colors is that if we had a red and a green house color, those colors have sort of loaded
information.
Yeah, they have loaded information that people are used to. You see the guy from the red house behind a wall, and you'd be like, oh no, something bad is happening to that guy. And then if there's the guy from the greenhouse behind something, you'd be like, that guy's fine. I'm not going to worry about that.
Looks like a demon. He must be a friendly demon, or he's just going. I don't know what he's doing.
So
he's going.
That was one of our pieces of feedback, is that probably want to just have a neutral friendly color and a neutral enemy color for these, and go with something like that. And then so Derek did a revision of it, and he just came up with this kind of neutral color for the heroes, which is a little bit warmer, and then this neutral color for the enemies, which is a little bit cooler. And then he had some ideas about maybe doing some textures and whatever. So Matt, you jumped on this immediately and started working on this thing. I'm gonna launch it into the mangrove level. And of course I'm going to start where there are no real blockers to block things. But so you started doing this, and we went through a couple of iterations of it. And if I rotate the camera, cool, we can block this character, and we can see that it's yeah. And I think this is really cool. So you're doing this all in shaders, I guess. I barely understand shaders. Do you want to tell people on the stream what a shader is if they don't know what a shader is?
Right. So
what's the 2-sentence explanation of a shader?
So a shader is just a short program that spits out a color, and it's run per pixel usually.
And it's run per pixel. Okay. So for this, you'd go over every pixel that the character silhouette is on, basically just any pixel that is I don't know, contains information about the character,
Right.
drawing the character, and then your shader would run on those pixels. And then, are you doing like a depth test, or like how do you know? This is funny because I feel like all of my graphics knowledge is about 2001, 2002 era. So like I don't really know, but like yeah, how do you know that dude is obscured right now?
Right. So yeah, we're checking the depth of the world, and when we render the character during the second time, we check to see if he's behind anything, and if he is, then we render that orange shader for him, and then we also have to do a check to make sure that we don't render orange on top of characters, or if there's a character standing in front of another character, we don't want orange appearing on the forward character. So we use something called a stencil test there, which is basically a mask. We can tell the engine which pixels belong to characters specifically, and not render any of the orange on
Cool.
those areas, only if it's covered by something.
And then we also let's see. I'm gonna just turn on some.
It's gonna cheat. I love how quickly we were able to replicate Derek's art, through your shaders. That was super cool.
Yeah, well, it helps a lot to have that concept, particularly if it's drawn over screenshots of the game, because then I can get the intention of it that reads really clearly.
Right.
And so, it's far faster for an artist to sketch over some screenshots than to have a graphics programmer revising code. That's a bit slower. So having a target to aim for from the beginning helps that come together really quickly.
And you can see the cool version of it on this guy. And by the cool version, I mean the cooler
Cool
colored version
Right.
on the enemy over there.
Right.
So
Not like the lame color.
we're hoping that you'll just be able to like see that sort of warmer version and be like, oh, that's my guy, and then see that cooler version on the enemies and be like, oh, that's a bad guy. And it's just nice because I don't know, it just gives you the information that you need to play the game without having to rotate the camera all the time. That was kind of one thing that we found, especially inside the keep, was that you were just like having to rotate the camera like all the time in order to actually select your guys and move them effectively. And hopefully with this,
you could kill
won't
Fog
have
of
to do
War
that.
and go to the keep and see some enemies there, probably.
That is
You want to
true.
check that out. Yeah, so you can see.
Yeah.
Yep. So
even if you're-
inside the keep, you'd definitely be able to see these guys that are being obscured at the different camera angles. Oh, and even when you're outside, hey.
Worst case scenario. you can still see
Yeah,
the
worst
character.
case scenario where you're just looking at a wall, you can still see that stuff. So that also, one really interesting thing about implementing this feature is that this happens sometimes, is that you'll implement one feature and then it kind of changes the way that you perceive the game or the way that you play the game, and you'll be like, oh shit, now we need another feature, we need another thing to actually like fill in the gap here. Even though it's better to play it, it's like we still need something else. So one thing that we noticed when we did this is that it's like, oh cool, you don't have to move the camera, but when your hero is, let's see if I can get a good, like this right here, like I don't necessarily have to move the camera, but I want to like select that guy. The problem was that like he was just staying as that silhouette, and I feel like I'm controlling just like this weird orange silhouette of the guy, and it felt very strange. So we talked about having localized alphaing out of the taller objects so that you could sort of see through them where your cursor was, so that by mousing over something, you'd be able to actually like get a view of it. And so I feel like there was one take on this, like the initial take, that was not as cool as what we ended up with, and that was just like alphing the whole object. Or I feel like there was another step in there as well.
The like top part of object, physically, like the object itself
Right.
would literally have two parts.
We had briefly talked about
Yeah.
cutting the object into a base and the top part, and trying to do that, but it would create a lot of work, a lot of artwork in order to create all that stuff. But then I think it was you and Chad talking about doing a world space alphing of the object top to bottom, so that the bottom of it is like totally opaque, and then it becomes like, as it gets up to like knee height, it begins to alpha, and then it goes very quickly to like fully transparent.
Right.
And you mocked it up really quickly, and it worked awesome. And you can see it on this tree here. And this is a really good case of it, where as I get my mouse behind it, it's like I can actually see that square behind. But the stump, like the base of it, remains opaque the whole time, and its shadow is on the whole time, and it feels like it's a very grounded object, even though we're sort of like slicing it, slicing most of it out. And it works really well. It works really well, whether you're trying to like select an enemy or select a player. Maybe I can get the player into a better situation for this. I think this is a nice one here. I can just mouse over here, and now I can actually see him. And like this just got in the game, so we're going to be tweaking it out. But one of the things that we want to shoot for now is making sure that the UI elements are more visible when you're back there too. Like especially the cursor, which is still placeholder, but you kind of want to be able to see that thing a little bit more than this. But it does really work. It's very I don't know. It just makes the game a lot more playable. And you can see it even when it's like an enemy, and I mouse over him. It's like it'll chop that thing down and I can check them out.
Yeah, the solid obscured colors work well for just having better awareness of where characters and enemies are, but you don't want your focus in the game to be on those just full solid colors. So having the blockers fade out so that you can see the characters as they're really meant to be seen, even if they're behind something. That was an important step that we didn't even realize that we needed to make until we had that full solid color in,
right?
And we saw that it wasn't quite enough.
So let's see what else. Yeah, do you want to say anything else about that? Because it seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that we'll have more to show with that when we get into some of the levels that have more architecture in them, because then you'll have those high wall blockers, and that's where this system kind of gets stress tested. With a lot of these rocks and trees, you can, they're sparse, but yeah, it works really well in this forest area. Whereas you said before, the tree used to fade out all the way down to the base, and you could see grass underneath the tree,
right,
which kind of broke the sense of reality there.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was a very grounded object at that point. Another thing that was quite a bit, that's quite a bit better now, is that the way that we had it is that the alpha was purely distance-based off of the camera. So as you scrolled over the forest, kind of all the trees would alpha out. But now it's like you can actually appreciate it for a forest, especially when your mouse is over here and you're doing something over here. You can appreciate what's happening in the center of the screen a lot more. You know what? It looks better when I have a character that can actually like have vision of this stuff. So I'm gonna move the guy over there. But yeah, like when I have my mouse over here and I'm kind of centered over the forest, all the trees are like whole. But then it's not until I like move my mouse over here that they start getting cut down, and because I want the additional information that's back there. So I think it's a much better solution for that stuff.
We're just reminded too that we are doing a $100 backer package giveaway, and we will do that coming up shortly. Someone was asking about it. So
yeah, we're definitely still giving that away.
It's happening.
I'm gonna restart this. Is it gonna do that thing again, Paul, if I restart it? It might. Let's try it. Whatever.
Oh.
I'll just launch a new one. Don't worry about it.
Bam,
Yeah,
back.
taken care of. Okay, so there were a couple other like tactical features that came online that are more gameplay oriented that I thought we would show off. So Chad has been working on these. Is he around? I don't know if he's around or not. But
I think he was around.
was he around? Okay, would you mind tagging out and going to grab him?
Sure.
And it'll be a great time to give away a $100 backer package.
I think that sounds awesome.
Basically, this is like the same as if you went to our website right now and became a Slacker backer for $100. You get your name in the game as one of the houses and get early access to the game and all that jazz. So if you are interested, if you want this, then we got to be in the chat, and we'll be rolling the dice here in a second. Here we go, rolling the dice.
All right, somebody's winning this.
Subculture 85, if you are on, please chat, and we will know you are a person and not
congrats.
a bot.
Congrats,
And congrats,
Subculture
Subculture 85. If you already are a backer, then you can gift this to somebody else. All right, well, we'll see. You just got a minute to chat, and then we'll pick somebody else.
Has he showed up yet? Subculture 85, come on, man. Oh, there is a longer delay as well.
There is a delay. They actually give you the time, which is pretty amazing. All right, he's on.
Okay, sweet.
He or she is on. All right, thanks,
Hey,
Subculture
congrats.
85. Congrats. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this team stream. We got more cool stuff to show you in terms of tactical gameplay. And in just a moment.
Paul, do you want to take a break?
We'll be right back.
We're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be back hopefully with Chad and show